joins us now to weigh in. So, Steve, we were just talking a little bit about how one of the biggest threats or biggest concerns for the NYPD tonight would be somebody like a Vegas shooter, Stephen Paddock, that's not even on their radar. How do you stop that?
Well, that's their big concern. The unknown is what is really a big threat to them. But the NYPD is making a statement. They're all over the media. You've never seen this type of activity with the NYPD. And they're saying, not tonight, not on my watch, and if you come, we're ready.
And so, but it's not just the inner circle of Times Square. I mean, sure, they're shutting down parking garages. I mean, they're sealing manholes. I mean, all the things that we hear to take on. But you're going to have choke points. You're going to have places where people gather to go through security points. That may not be Times Central, but if a bomb were to go off there, they're going to say an attack at Times Square, right? How do you prevent that?
There's 12 entry points. You're going to have surveillance, again, unprecedented. You're going to have spotters in the crowd. They're going to be looking for pre-indicators of behavior that might be indicative of someone wanting to do something bad. Take the Manchester bombing with Ariel Grande, in which you had a skinny guy with a jacket out to here, looked at a place, made him look like he was 200 pounds. Nobody spotted it. So they'll have spotters. Pre-indicators of behavior are what they're going to be looking for.
How has the Vegas massacre changed the way they're policing in Times Square? Because there are huge, tall buildings all around it. So how has that changed it?
Well, they've always had snipers, but tonight we're going to see a crazy amount of people in positions that you've never seen before, because that incident, the Vegas incident, changed the way every time something like this happens, it changes the way law enforcement approaches terrorism.
Are they going to go room by room
in
all the rooms overlooking Times Square? I mean, honestly, do they have the ability to go into those hotel rooms the day of and make sure someone's doesn't have a cache of weapons?
There is a designated officer that's working with each hotel. And so I'm sure that that's being done to some degree. But there's an officer or a group of officers that are assigned to the major hotels, especially the ones that are facing.
Right, and they're probably tracking. Is somebody doing something kind of unusual? They said that the man who did that in Las Vegas, he was in his room for days on end. They could see maybe that was.
Well, the employees are told to look for specific things that would be a red flag for law enforcement, if you will.
On a night like tonight, though, you mentioned the Manchester attack where somebody was wearing a bulky coat, wasn't noticed. It was the middle of the summer. It's going to be 10 degrees tonight.
Right.
Everybody will be bundled up.
Yeah.
And earlier this month, we saw somebody go to the Port Authority bus terminal 10 blocks away with a device on them. How can the NYPD possibly stop everybody wearing a big, puffy coat from coming in with something like that?
They're set up so that you can't prevent everything. There is always going to be evil people. If something happens, they're going to minimize the damage that it causes. And it will likely be at one of the entrances.
And Steve, only a fraction of our viewers are attending something here in New York City. The same things for local police departments, more or less, at celebrations across America?
All over the country. From small to big, there's soft targets. Every police agency across the country, no matter how big or small, has identified their soft targets years ago. And, D.C.'s got a problem, Philadelphia, L.A., all the major cities.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming by. And by the way,
pleasure.
The Superpower Women, great book that you gave me for, especially of young girls going off to college like I do in a year. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The PC police has a new target to silence conservative speech. The Reverend Franklin Graham is there. A plot to ban him from the entire country.
Okay. And from surfing to that was me. Airballing dunk contests. You never know what's going to happen on Fox and Friends on the Plaza. The top weekend moments of 2017 in a video montage that we haven't even seen.
Wow, that was fun. Focus on the causes and consequences of irresponsible reporting.
Thanks, Rachel. Well, a jubilant President Trump predicting even more winning for 2017, tweeting this. He said, jobs are kicking in and companies are coming back to the U.S. Unnecessary regulations and high taxes are being dramatically cut, and it will only get better, much more to come. The stock market adding more than $6 trillion since he took office as unemployment hits a 17-year low. So what can we expect for the new year? Here to debate, Fox News contributor Richard Fowler and host at The Blaze, Lawrence Jones. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here this morning.
Good to be here.
So, Richard, you look at those numbers. Unemployment 17-year low, tax cuts, energy renaissance, deregulation, black unemployment has dropped dramatically. Illegal immigration has been curtailed. If you're a supporter of the president or want America to return as a robust economy, you're feeling pretty good going into 2018, right?
Yeah, I think there's reasons to celebrate this president's achievements so far, but I think that you have to look at that also with the fact that there is more for this president to do. He ran on making sure that we pass an infrastructure bill. That hasn't happened yet. He ran on making sure that we would build a wall on the Mexican border. That hasn't happened yet. He ran on why we should repeal the Affordable Care Act. That hasn't happened yet. These are all things that he ran on that he said would get done in his first year that he has not gotten done yet. And you can't blame Democrats for that because Republicans have both control of the United States House and the United States Senate.
Fair enough, Richard. So, Lawrence, over to you. I mean, the president has said he wants to make the wall a priority inside DACA. They did repeal the individual mandate, and infrastructure's on the docket. So in light of what has been done, how do you feel about 2018?
Well, at the end of the day, it's about tangible items. And what the American people see is constant job growth. We see the stock market surging. We see consumer confidence up, GDP 3.2%. So this is something that the American people can actually feel. They're going to get more money in their pocket now with the tax bill. And despite Democrats saying that they hate it, I know Richard is being reasonable right now, but a lot of Democrats say they hate it, but they're going to take the bonus from Christmas. A lot of Democrats say they hate it, but they're definitely going to take the tax cut. Even the mainstream media, people like MSNBC, say that they hated the bill, but they got a bonus during Christmas. So this is something that the American people can actually feel. A lot of Congress is saying that they should feel it sometime between February and March where they should see more money in their bank account. I think that's pretty good.
Richard,
I'm not sure if people are seeing bonuses. I think what you're seeing is actually a lot of folks, not only in blue states, but in places like Fairfax, Virginia, and other parts, Americans rushing to their city appraiser to pay their tax bill before, before it's actually due, so they don't have to get penalized with the fact that the Republicans changed the rules on how you can deduct your state and local income tax.
Yeah,
and not to mention the fact that none of us have seen any benefit from this tax bill, and it's the most unpopular tax bill ever passed in American history.
We'll see what happens in February when the effects start to kick in.
Well, we'll see, but the jury's
tax
still out. Let's be very clear.
At the end of the day, a lot of Democrats are saying, hey, it's not that much money, which shows how
but you just said we took tax credits that we never got.
When people are going to see more money in their bank account, and when you have Americans that are living paycheck to paycheck, a bit of money is going to help. When you see corporations that are now going to get a cut, they're going to hire more people.
No, wait.
The Democrats can try this talking point, but
Lawrence,
at the end of the day, the American people are going to see the benefit.
The American people will see money they will see some money in their paychecks because the rate will go down. But let's talk about corporations.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
No, but let's talk about corporations for just a second because I think that's a farce. Apple, Google, and Microsoft have $463 billion in the bank today. That was before the Bush. This is before the Trump tax cut. They're not going to buy. They're not going to create new jobs. They would already have done it with the money they already have sitting in their books. This ideal and this notion that because you give corporations a tax cut, that they're automatically going to start hiring Americans doesn't make any sense because the proof is not in the pudding.
I don't know why corporations are always the boogeyman. And the last time
they're
I
not
got
the boogeyman, but the fact is they're not going to hire
a rich
people.
person. So that's a good thing. Richard, very briefly here, are there any concerns percolating in the Democratic Party of the fact that the economy is roaring, the president has had successes, the so-called Russian collusion narrative has fizzled, that 2018 could be a worse year than you think?
First, I think that the fact that we know nothing on this what's going on with Russia because we're not part of the Mueller team. Only the Mueller team knows what's going on. And number two, I think that Democrats, yes, there is a tax.
We all do because all these leaks.
Hold on, Lawrence, go ahead.
The fact that there is a tax that is passed, but let me tell you this: that when you see the actual benefits or the to-be benefits, as people are claiming, you will see that it's not all roses for the Trump tax plan. Not to mention the fact that it exploded our deficit by $1.5 trillion.
Lord, suddenly the Democrats are concerned about the deficit.
Well, you guys used to be concerned about the deficit, but not anymore.
It is astonishing to me that the Democrats are only concerned about the deficit when it comes to the American people getting more of their money. But
corporations getting more of their money.
I'm sorry, Richard, I'll let you talk. But when we're talking about cutting spending with all these programs that they like for free, they're never concerned about the deficit then. Only when we get to keep more of our money. I just find it very interesting.
Richard Fowler, Lawrence Jones,
I've heard a lot of things. Happy New
my
Year's
prediction
Eve,
for
Pete.
2018 is that you guys become best friends.
Hey, listen, and you can catch the live show tonight. It's going to be a good one. It'll be me, Lisa Lisa Booth,
True,
Kennedy,
that's
Jesse,
right. Right here on the Fox
Ed
News
Henry
channel.
at 8
You're going to be
o'clock.
out in the crowd, aren't you, Richard?
I
It'll be
am.
great.
I
Good
am.
stuff.
We'll be
Stay
talking
warm,
to
will
some
you?
folks who are already out there right now. I saw them walking over.
Oh, my goodness.
It's
I don't
want
to be there. You got it. Have a great time, Richard. We'll be watching. All right, despite constant cries from the PC police, there is at least one job the liberal media thinks still only belongs to a man.
You think you can just come in here, make a mess, a big man in the coveralls will come and clean it up?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is taking out the trash strictly a job for the boys? Ooh, I got some opinions. We report, you decide. And the countdown to 2018 is on. And Rick is getting ready to cheers to the new year above Times Square. Rick, stay warm, brother.
Pete, it is New Year's Eve somewhere like Auckland, so I was just about to pop this bottle of champagne to toast the people in New Zealand, but I just got told by the people up here that I'm not allowed. We're going to figure something out so that we can toast in the new year coming up in just a few minutes. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I love Ebates. I have made 500 resort city in Mexico just one day before his 50th birthday. Doug Bradley, the Imperial Beach Director of Finance, was vacationing during Christmas in the town of Zitapa. Witnesses telling local media they saw Bradley being chased by gunmen, Mexican officials claiming he was killed during an alleged robbery. U.S. officials are now working to bring his body home. A drunk comment by a former Trump campaign advisor may have sparked the investigation into Russian election meddling. According to the New York Times, George Papadopoulos told an Australian diplomat that Russia had dirt, and quotes, on Hillary Clinton during a night of heavy drinking last year. A few months later, the Australian government notified the FBI. In October, Papadopoulos pleaded guilty to lying to the Bureau about his contacts with foreigners. Democratic New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is giving himself a big fat raise. Authorizing the hike 2 years ago takes effect when his second term begins tomorrow. De Blasio's annual salary of $225,000 bumping up to more than $258,000, and that's an increase of nearly $34,000. Compare that to former Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who took just $1 per year.
Helps to be a billionaire.
It does. There is at least one job the liberal media still thinks only belongs to a man.
You think you can just come in here, make a mess, a big man in the coveralls will come and clean it up?
Okay, I'm sorry. According to an op-ed in the New York Times, taking out the trash is still a man's job. The writer saying, quote, it may be the last bastion of accepted 1950s behavior, and in this case, women are just fine with that.
I think that's true.
I have to agree with that, and shoveling snow.
I finally agree with the New York Times. It
Yes.
took all of 2017. Last day.
We want to know what you think. Who takes out the trash in your house? Email us at foxandfriendsnews.com.
Friends
and
at
those are your
foxnews.com.
headlines.
Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is that how it is in your household?
Yeah, my husband or my boys. I'm sorry, we girls, we don't do that.
I agree. I'm offended when someone else is attempting to take out the garbage.
Good.
The Times piece, though, seemed like it was a little bit targeted for people who live in Brooklyn, Portland, San Francisco, because they're talking about, oh, I don't want to take out all my Blue Apron boxes from all the cooking that I got delivered
like a little bit of
this
time.
week.
All right, well, let's bring it out
True,
to
good
Rick
point.
Reichmuth, who is live from Times Square. The ball is just hours away from dropping, and Rick is in the center of it all this hour. He's toasting to 2018 with Barefoot Bubbly.
Rachel, we're above it all. We're about 400 feet above Times Square right now. This is Jen Wall. You're the winemaker at Barefoot.
Yep.
And we have some bubbly to talk about this morning. I mean, it's already New Year's in some places, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, the first question I have, when you're opening up a bottle of champagne, do you want it to fly? Are you supposed to have all of that champagne going?
No.
I don't want that because I feel like I want to drink that.
Yeah, it's all wasting if you're doing that. So no, you want to actually gently remove the cork, and you'll hear a slight pop, but you don't want any of your delicious champagne to
All right.
escape.
That makes me feel better. All right,
Okay.
you brought a few drinks. Basically, it's like different versions of mimosas, Bellinis. right?
Absolutely. Well, Barefoot Bubbly is the official bubbly for Times Square New Year's Eve this
Oh
year.
my gosh, that's amazing.
So we're excited, and so So we have 11 bubblies, but we brought you 3. They're all good to toast with tonight or any occasion. But we thought it'd be fun to show people how to make a champagne bar for New Year's Eve.
Perfect.
So we have different fruits and juices here, and we thought we'd show you how to make a great bar.
All right, so basically raspberries, lemon, pomegranate are some of the things, the juices.
Yep.
But the little juice, is there a ratio, juice to champagne?
I usually like to use about 25 to 30% juice. The rest is bubbly, and then you just garnish it with whatever you like.
All right, that's it. We're out of time. These are our drinks.
Wow.
We're going to toast to New Year's.
Absolutely.
Right now, and they've got these beautiful spill-proof cups, which you can get also.
Cheers to you.
Jen Wall, thank you so much, guys.
Cheers, Rick.
Happy New Year. Cheers.
I don't know if I would have a drink next to a 400-foot rock.
You got to be careful. You got to be careful. Well, speaking of not being careful, Rick's there, but Rick's going to be a big part of this. You know, it's been a big year in 2017 here on Fox and Friends Weekend. A ton of stuff has gone down. You've been a big part of it, so you'll probably enjoy this package as much as we are. We haven't seen it yet. It's the highlights of 2017 from Fox and Friends Weekend. Take a watch.
Today is Sunday, January 1st. Happy New Year, everybody. We are in 2017. Welcome to the couch. Welcome to the show.
Mornings, better with friends.
Guys, there is literally an alligator over to the side of the camera. This is the creepiest thing. Dogs have taken over our plaza this morning.
Did I say Doug? I meant dog.
Is that George? Why is my dog on the screen right now?
Happy April Fool's Day.
They put something in my coffee.
Oh my God!
Shot on this?
Oh my gosh!
I had the most terrifying morning, guys. Oh, Jesus! I look over and he's sitting in the seat.
We've got so many friends out here this morning.
When are you guys on 12 hours today?
What in the world? Is Fox and Friends still on the air at 10 a.m. Eastern time? Yes, this is the first time this has ever happened. Welcome to our brand new studio. We've got a big show on tap today.
We sent Clayton outside
To go make friends.
Sandra Smith in this morning.
Todd Pyro, Dean Kane, everybody.
John Scott's on the couch.
In the house this morning.
Lisa Boo,
Hi, guys.
Trish, Todd, and John today.
Jason Sehorn.
Elle Grace was born just after midnight.
Congrats to Abby and Jeff, the whole family.
Abby Huntsman out on maternity leave. Rachel Campbell Stuffy joining us.
And while Rachel is here with us, her husband, he's home dealing with the 8 kids.
And you guys met on TV.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Baby girl Gwendolyn Hope.
Is this Gwendolyn TV debut?
Yeah. Friends and family. That's right. It's Fox and Friends.
Pretty good team, guys.
You know, they shouldn't even pay us for this job.
It looks so fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. I mean, you guys have
By
been
the
a big
way,
part of it. It's
Abby's
amazing.
coming back. That
That's true.
package made it sound like she's not. Abby's coming back.
Abby is definitely coming back.
And I was
She's got
expecting a
beautiful
lot
baby girl.
more eating out of you.
There was some eating in
there.
there.
Was some, but I thought the whole thing would be.
We're going to do just
There
as
was a
much.
lot of Pete falling down, too.
Yes,
And more of that
it's a
in
theme of the show.
2018.
Yes.
Also more of this. Appointing Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, one of President Trump's first and most important accomplishments. Our next guest says that's just the beginning.
Bush, Tom Dupree. Tom, welcome and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Rachel. Happy New Year to you, too.
Thank you. So tell us, what kind of jurists is President Trump putting on the court?
President Trump has been appointing federal judges who have been persons of high intellect, high integrity, and people who are applying the rule of law faithfully. This is absolutely critical because, look, we don't want judges who will use their position as a way to enact the political policy outcomes they like. We want people who will apply the rule of law faithfully and who will be faithful to the original meaning of the Constitution, and that's exactly what the president has been doing.
Now, Tom, President Trump has been very concerted in this effort. We've got a full screen of the number of appellate appellate judges confirmed in the first year of each administration. Donald Trump has a dozen. His predecessors, whether it's Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Richard Nixon, John F. Kennedy, have not reached that number. Is this a product of an intentional focus on saying, hey, the judiciary, for better or for worse, has been shaping the future of our country, and if we want to maintain fidelity to the Constitution, we got to put young guys and gals who understand the Constitution in these courts as fast as possible?
Pete, that's exactly right. This did not happen by happenstance. This was a concerted plan that the administration had to hit the ground running from day one. As you noted, they've achieved this with record-breaking success, filling these vacancies at a fast pace. They are people who are smart. In many cases, they are young, and they will serve for many years. That's one of the wonderful things about appointing federal judges if you're a president, is that they will often be the most lasting part of your legacy, and that their service on the bench will endure far beyond your actual time in office. So the president is putting his mark on the federal courts, and I think we're just getting started.
So, Tom, tell us what exactly the Democrats did that made it so easy for President Trump to do this.
Well, what happened was, as we saw during the Obama administration, they started off at a reasonably fast pace in filling judicial vacancies, but that pace slackened a little bit over time. Part of it was because the Obama White House didn't move as quickly as they needed to. In other cases, it was because Republicans held firm on the nomination process. And through a combination of these factors, what happened is you saw President Trump inherit a very large number of vacancies. And what is wonderful to see is that this administration has not been sitting back on its heels, but has been moving quickly and forcefully and decisively to fill these open spots.
Right, but there was a filibuster rule. I'm sorry, there was a filibuster rule that was changed that also made it easier, correct?
That's exactly right. That would make it easier in the past for senators, individual senators, to frustrate a president's attempts to put people on the bench. The Democrats several years back basically blew that up, and the consequences we're seeing now is that it's enabling President Trump to move his nominees far more quickly than a president could have in the past.
No, it's a great point. I mean, it's the combination of a president actually willing to do things and the Federalist Society and a more mature conservative judicial standpoint coming together and getting stuff done. Tom Dupree, thanks a lot for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, the new proof that the next generation is already learning to disrespect America. The celebrity actually brought to tears of joy because her son sat for the national anthem.
And that late-night fast food run is the surefire solution to avoiding this year's hangover, right? Wrong, wrong, wrong. The 5 ways you can avoid tomorrow's headache. Coming up next.
Help me. Help me. This is research.
Lord, we having a good time. I've been working all week and I'm tired. I don't want to sleep and I want to have fun. It's time for a good time.
It's here. The Publishers Clearinghouse $5,000 a week forever prize will be awarded in just weeks.
Tomorrow's hangover. So there's drinking and then there's planned drinking, and you're going to help us.
Absolutely, yeah. And so we want to start with actually more drinking. You want to have a 1-to-1 rule. So that means 1 water for every alcoholic drink. So 1 water to every wine, and seltzer absolutely counts too.
Like in real time, like have one.
Ideally, yes.
But should you hydrate a lot beforehand?
Yeah, so exactly. So if that's not possible for you, then drink a liter of water before you go out.
Okay.
Yeah, my friend used to drink like a whole thing of Gatorade before going out.
Although if you're at Times Square and you can't go to the bathroom, that's a problem. But yeah, I got it.
That's a whole other category.
What about the sugary drinks, the Coke and the juice?
Yeah, the sugary drinks actually are what are responsible for a lot of migraines. Actually, so if you can do seltzer and a splash of one of these things, you're going to be much better off tomorrow.
Okay. And what about snacking? I mean, everybody says if you snack, if you eat, that's the way the Europeans do it, right?
Yeah. So a lot of times, at a lot of these, we're opening things up. So a lot of times appetizers sort of take over instead of having a real meal. So I really want you to focus on have a real meal tonight. Don't, sort of pick a little this, a little that. It doesn't end up equaling a full meal, and you're much more likely
to
get
build
hungover.
a base, what you're saying.
Exactly. You want to have something in there.
Drinking base.
And you're thinking
lasagna,
put it that way.
Lasagna.
Yeah, ideally
steak,
some chicken, some fish,
protein,
a little bit of green, and a little bit of grain.
I don't know where we get the good stuff like this so early on a Sunday.
I've never seen anything as healthy as this on the
It's
show.
really. I actually thought this was somebody's breakfast.
There's no part of me that wanted to have that.
No, Pete's been eating the French fries, which we also have.
So what's wrong with
so this, not the.
Yeah, so you don't
McDonald's
actually.
cheeseburgers.
Yeah, and we're not going to eat them now either. Or maybe, but really,
if you put it out, he'll eat it.
well, contrary to popular
this
belief, this
won't
stuff
help?
it doesn't actually soak up alcohol the way you think it does. It's just going to make you feel a little bit
Look at
icky
this
in the
bun,
morning.
how porous it is.
I mean,
this doesn't help at all.
No, it's not really going to help for breakfast either.
And then,
Unfortunately.
well, we'll see.
Okay,
he can test because he's got the.
I do have a
champagne
question
open.
because you're a nutritionist. You know a lot about health. I have heard people who take like aspirin or Tylenol as a sort of preventive hangover.
Yeah, you really want to do it after. You know, the next morning is fine, but you don't want to take it while drinking. It can lead to stomach issues
I believe
and
that.
liver issues too. So it's really, really dangerous to take while
You
drinking.
also say pick your number. What does that mean?
Yeah, I want you to name your number. Choose how many drinks you're going to have ahead of time. So is it going to be 2?
gonna
Is it
start
going to be
with 1.
3? Choose it ahead of time.
He can't
and you're
count
much
that
more likely
high.
to stick to that and not fall for the, just one more.
Right. I think that's a smart idea.
That's a
Plan
smart
ahead.
idea. More difficult to actually do.
Yeah, execution is a whole other thing,
whole
but we're
other
talking about the
And
planning piece.
What about
like that.
exercise tomorrow?
Yes, try to sweat it out. Plan a way to kick off the new year in a great way.
So what about eating greasy food in the morning? Because I've always been a believer
Yeah.
of that.
Greasy
in the
food the
morning.
next day.
The next day?
We know.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to do that no matter what, but you want to actually have eggs. Eggs are a great one to help with hangovers, too. They have some compounds in it that help break down alcohol toxins.
I like that.
All
so
right.
have a little water, less sugar.
Less
eat
sugar.
Get a
Eat.
good base in there.
Yeah,
real meal.
hydrate. You would say hydrate's
much.
the number one, though, right?
Hydrate's absolutely the number
Got
one
it.
thing. The majority of hangover symptoms are because of dehydration.
Awesome.
Right.
All
Carolyn
right.
Brown.
Good
Thank you very
information.
much.
Thank you.
Happy
Thanks for
New
having
Year.
me. Happy
Just
New
Probably the
Year.
most important info you'll get on the show today.
Absolutely.
Sorry to ruin it.
From hangovers to the wall. No wall, no deal for the Dreamers. President Trump laying out his demands for DACA. Are we one step closer to?
There's no specific credible threat to Times Square or to New York City.
The NYPD is making a statement, and they're saying, not tonight, not on my watch, and if you come, we're ready.
A Fox News alert. The growing protests in Iran now turning deadly as well, but the president chiming in on this.
He says the entire world understands that the good people of Iran want change.
The president tweeting because it is the only way to fight a very dishonest and unfair press.
The lack of respect that they have for the office and the president of the United States is uncharted.
I want to wish every American a very happy New Year.
This is the Axville Ball, guys. We have the best seat in the house all morning long.
All right, Happy New Year. What's your New Year's resolution? We're in the studio today with Pete, with Peter Ducey, with Pete Hegeseth.
Pete.
I'm in a Pete sandwich here.
Whether she likes it or not.
By the way, we just did a segment a minute ago on hangovers. The only thing that she didn't mention to cure a hangover was not drinking too much, right?
That's true.
We never covered that.
If you want to not
about
drink
it.
for this New Year, you know where you can go? You can go to Times Square right now in 5 degrees and not use a bathroom and not have a drink for 12 hours.
I got a newsflash
great.
for you. Those people are still drinking. They just
Are
have
they?
it hidden.
You just find a way to kind of tuck it away.
Normally, though, it's not until New Year's morning when people say they're never going to drink again.
That's true. Well, happy almost New Year. We've been asking you for your resolutions, which we all set and most of us never follow through on. But, 2018 is a new year. And Gordy in Maine tweeted this, sent this into Facebook. I'm going to continue my weight loss. I lost 50 pounds in 2017.
For you, Gordy.
Outstanding.
Right on.
Congratulations.
All right, an email from Sherry. She said, accept what is. Let go of what was. Have faith in what will be. It's kind of like the Frozen thing. Let it go.
I
right?
like it.
And then, Chuck, read more scripture.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. What is your New Year's resolution,
Mine?
Peter?
Buy more Bitcoin, get more tattoos, tweet more, and love America.
He's not kidding.
I'm actually not kidding. What
Sounds like
get
Trump's.
after it.
Sounds like Trump's New Year's
Get
resolution.
after it. Get in the fight. I'm just don't back down. More on the throttle. That's the way to go. How about you, Peter?
Just all that. I'll copy and paste that.
You're going to tweet more, Peter?
Maybe. Good time to start.
Why not?
Yeah.
You're on Twitter. You're on the tweets.
I'm going to
Twitter,
try and
yeah.
exercise more.
Exercise more. See, that's a very
I'm not
prudent-
consistent, and traveling back and forth makes me not as consistent, and so I need to do that. So keep
difficult.
emailing us your resolutions. We'll try and get them up on the board.
That's right. We will check them out all morning long. We're going to check in right now with Rick Reichmuth, who's live atop Times Square, right in front of the ball that will drop in T-minus
Hi,
more hours
Rick.
than I can count. Rick, good morning.
Good morning, guys. You know that when you go up about 400 feet, it gets a lot colder. Once you go higher up in the air, the wind kicks up a little bit, the temperature goes down a little bit, so it's certainly a very chilly morning out here. But not just here, it's a chilly morning almost everywhere across the country, except for far south Florida and parts of the Southwest, California and Arizona. In fact, Phoenix area has been seeing record-breaking high temperatures. So if you're wondering where all the heat is, it's down across parts of the Southwest, certainly nowhere else right now. We've got a dangerously cold night tonight. We've been talking all week long about the temperatures here in Times Square tonight. We're going to be somewhere in the 10 to 13 degree range. But as you said, if you're standing out here for that long, it doesn't take long until it gets cold. I will tell you, we have a warm spot we can go to here, but the second we're out here for 5 or 6 minutes, it starts to get really cold. So you better dress accordingly. Try not to drink too much because that will make you make some bad choices and probably not notice if you're going into some bad state, physical state, hypothermia or something like that. So that's my advice. It's going to be very cold. All morning long, we're right here. We are going to be talking to the people from the Waterford Crystals, finding out about the new crystal that they have on the ball this year, as well as, oh my gosh. There we go. That's what's happening, guys.
Rick,
You start to lose what's going on.
Brain
when
freeze.
It's so cold.
Brain freeze.
It is a brain freeze. It's so cold.
That just,
the synapses
the
are just
USO.
not
We've got the
firing.
USO singers here.
Oh, cool.
That's never happened to me before on TV, by the way. The words just totally went.
2018 is a new year, Rick. You know, you gotta get a clean
Yes,
slate.
exactly.
Good man. Look at that. He's visibly freezing.
Yeah, it
If you're
looks
thinking
cold.
about Times Square, think again.
And I hadn't thought about that. He's right. He's up higher. It's probably even colder than it is when you're standing on the sidewalk. So.
Terrible. Well, if you open up on a Sunday edition of the New York Times, which the president has labeled the failing New York Times, you'll see an anonymously sourced article this morning. It said how the Russian inquiry began, a campaign aide drinks and talk of political dirt. Here's part of the article from the New York Times. It says, during a night of heavy drinking at an upscale London bar in May of 2016, George Papadopoulos, a young foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign, made a startling revelation to Australia's top diplomat in Britain. Russia had political dirt on Hillary Clinton. About 3 weeks earlier, Mr. Papadopoulos had been told that Moscow had thousands of emails that would embarrass Mrs. Clinton, apparently stolen in an effort to try to damage her campaign. So the New York Times is sort of laying this out as the nexus and the beginning of the Russia investigation. So it was a drunken conversation from a more than low-level outside advisor to the Trump campaign that apparently triggered this entire Russia, of course, accelerated by a fake dossier paid for by the Democrats paying Russians. So this is what it comes to. Anonymous sourcing articles in the New York Times about drunken conversations.
And the timing's really interesting because really people were starting to get very upset, the American people, the Congress, that we didn't get the information from the FBI and the DOJ about the source of the DOJ of the dirty dossier. So who paid for that? We know the DNC did, but the FBI seems to not answer the question.
They haven't yet.
They refuse to answer that question. So you wonder, did they drop this story? Are the anonymous sources in the New York Times from the FBI, from the DOJ? Are they trying to really distract from the fact? And one last thing, Peter, if the DOJ or if this story did not start with the dirty dossier, why aren't they turning over the documents that the House Intelligence Committee has asked for? Seems kind of sneaky to me.
Right, and we still don't know how accurate everything that Papadopoulos said.
That's right.
But we do know, of course, that everybody who's drunk at a bar always tells the truth. They never exaggerate. But this doesn't mean that the FBI still did not use that dossier that is still unverified to get a FISA warrant to then spy on members of the Trump campaign. It does mean, though, that a very, very expensive, possibly historic special counsel probe may have a nexus here. However, something else curious about these sources, anonymous. We keep being told no leaks from the Mueller probe. We're not going to get any leaks. Isn't he the key witness for them, or he is a key witness? So where is this stuff coming from? Obviously, somewhere that the New York Times thinks that they can trust it.
You're exactly right, and we know their sources that they trust are limited, and I'm sure Bob Mueller is the gold standard of a source they would trust on a leak, no doubt. I mean, but to the article, it doesn't say a night of drinking. It says a night of heavy drinking, which is journalistic code for he's probably drunk at a bar, talking to someone, spouting off, because he's not a senior. George Papadopoulos, I don't know him at all, but everyone has validated this guy was never a senior member of the team, barely on the periphery, always trying to impress his bosses, a young guy trying to cook up schemes of doing this or doing that to be more relevant. Why wouldn't he be at a bar bragging about what he may or may not know? And how in the world could that be the trigger? But you're right, it very well could be. That combined with all the other aspects, including the dossier, could lead to the nexus of this investigation, which is the irony of the whole thing. This investigation, which has gone nowhere and showed no collusion, may be based on that.
Right,
Maybe.
and even if it were true, saying that you heard that the Russians were spying on her emails, I mean, that doesn't mean necessarily that there was any collusion on the part of the Trump campaign. It means you maybe heard that.
And, maybe the reason after a year of investigating that they don't have any evidence of collusion is because the star witnesses can't remember what they said.
That's right. Well, let's get straight to your headlines right now. We have a Fox News alert. A live look in Times Square where the NYPD is beefing up security as 1 million people prepare to ring in the new year. Snipers will keep watch from above as officers on the ground close off streets, check bags, deploy bomb-sniffing dogs. Now, earlier, former New York chief investigator Steve Cardian explained why they're taking unprecedented measures.
You can't prevent everything. There is always going to be evil people. If so happens, they're going to minimize the damage that it causes. And it will likely be at one of the entrances.
On the Las Vegas Strip, snipers and the National Guard will protect thousands of New Year's partiers. The man police say led cops to a fake hostage situation that ended with another man's death has done this before. We've just learned that 25-year-old Tyler Barris reported a fake bomb threat to a California news station back in 2015. That, as we get our first listen at this week's alleged swatting call, which led to the police shooting and killing of a 28-year-old Andrew Finch.
I'm thinking about, because I already poured gasoline all over the house. I might just set it on fire.
Okay, well, we don't need to do that, okay?
Do you have my address correct?
Police also releasing body cam footage of the shooting. Finch's family saying they want both Barris and the officer held accountable. Online reports suggest that Barris had an argument over a video game with another person not related to Finch.
Great.
Faculty and staff at Lake Superior University in Michigan releasing their 43rd annual list of banished words for misuse, overuse, and general uselessness. And this year's top vote getting should sound familiar.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
That's right, it's fake news. This year's tongue-in-cheek list also includes covfefe and nothing burger. And those are your headlines. I like both those words, by the way.
Of course, yeah.
I love covfefe.
You can apply to anything.
And
Is
Trump,
it covfefe or cofifi? We still haven't solved that.
Covfefe, but you know.
Trump said
it's very French of you.
It's very French.
that he tweets a lot because he considers most of the mainstream media to be essentially garbage.
Right.
And now we have a nice segue to this story. The New York Times has an op-ed where the writer talks to several different women about their life experiences, and they have all concluded that none of it will lead them to want to ever take out the trash. That has to be a job for the man. They don't care if that is something from the 1950s. They're not going to do it. There are a list of reasons. Some people just don't like the mess. Some people don't like the trash juices.
The smell.
The
weight.
But doesn't matter. Man's got to do it.
Yeah, man's got to take out the trash and shovel the snow.
Everyone's got a red line. Taking out the trash, that's still a man's job, even for the liberal coastal elite, because they're better than us. They're liberal coastal elite. But it turns out they're just like us. It's kind of like celebrities, just like us.
And the people that they talk to are from Brooklyn, Manhattan, Portland, San Francisco, not necessarily
just
a
total representative
So it turns out that the New York, housewives also tell their husbands, you better take out the trash. We're all the same. And we appreciate you men for doing that.
Keep sending us your emails. We're going to read a few later on in the email. We're going to read a few later on in the program at friends@foxnews.com. But in the meantime, we're moving on.
And we've got this. No wall, no deal for the Dreamers. President Trump laying out his demands for DACA. Is this what it's going to take for the wall to get built?
You might take something for your heart or joints, but do you take something for your brain? With an ingredient originally found in jellyfish, Prevagen is the #1 selling brain health supplement in drugstores nationwide. Prevagen, the name to remember.
GoPea's found a way to keep her receipts tidy, even when nothing else is.
Snap and sort your expenses with QuickBooks and find on average $4,340 in tax savings. QuickBooks, backing you.
Well, here's to new beginnings.
All sorts of new beginnings.
Winterfest?
Oh, we are just getting started.
Winterfest, 4 all-new original movie premieres on Hallmark Channel.
I've got plenty of time to work out. Said no one, ever. That's why we invented the Bowflex Max Trainer, the world's first 14-minute total body workout, combining the low-impact motion of an elliptical with the calorie-burning power of a stepper. Plus, right now, save over $550 with our best deal of the new year.
The Max Trainer kicked my butt. A lot of sweat. I lost 15.5 pounds in 10 weeks. It is the fastest workout I've ever done.
14 minutes is all it takes, and you'd feel that burn. I cut my body fat in half with the Max Trainer.
The Max Trainer's console guides you through 14 minutes of intervals, short bursts of effort followed by longer periods of rest, burning up to 2.5 times the calories of other workouts.
I worked half as long on the Max Trainer as other machines, and I got better results.
You feel it in your arms, your core, everywhere. Thanks to Max, I'm in the best shape of my life.
Call or go to ordermaxtrainer.com to learn about 18 months special financing and how to save over $550 with our best deal of the new year.
It's here. The Publishers Clearinghouse $5,000 a week forever prize is guaranteed to be awarded in just weeks. Win and you get $5,000 a week for your life. Then after that, someone you choose gets $5,000 a week for their life.
It'll pay a lot of bills.
Leave a legacy for your loved ones. Watch your mail or go to pch.com and enter. $5,000 a week forever will definitely be awarded on February 23rd. Enter now and the winner could be you.
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7 at Channel 115.
President Trump laying out his demands for a DACA deal, tweeting, "The Democrats have been told, and they fully understand, that there can be no DACA without the desperately needed wall at the southern border and an end to the horrible chain migration and ridiculous lottery system of immigration, etc. We must protect our country at all cost."
So is the president on the verge of his next major deal? Mark Krikorian is the executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies, and he joins us now to weigh in. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
So why is it, I know that on Wednesday, the Democrats and the Republicans are going to get together at the White House to talk about DACA. Why do Republicans need the Democrats if they still have control of the House and the Senate and the White House? Why don't they just try to do it like they just did tax reform with only Republicans?
Because in the Senate, there's still the filibuster. The tax bill there's a kind of parliamentary rules where you can move financial measures through with only 51 votes. This would require 60 votes in the Senate, and so they're going to need some Democrat buy-in. But the reason for this package is not just horse trading. It's not the White House saying, okay, Democrats, you want the amnesty, we want this, let's make a deal. Laws are made like that all the time, nothing wrong with it, but that's not what's happening here. You need to have enforcement elements like the wall and other things and get rid of the chain migration in order to limit the damage caused by an amnesty. Because if you amnesty people, first thing that happens is more illegal immigrants want to come because they say, hey, look, these people made it. We want to as well.
Sure.
The other thing is a few years down the road, the former illegal immigrants then can sponsor their family members, and that's what chain migration is. So you need to fix those two things as part of the deal, as sort of damage control, because if you just amnesty these people with DACA, you're going to end up with more illegal immigration and more chain migration unless you do something about it.
Mark, of course. I mean, if the Republicans just did a DACA deal and didn't get anything for it, not only would it be terrible politically, but it would be really bad policy. So do you believe they can get a fully funded border wall and the end of chain migration? They are the majority. They have the presidency in exchange for a DACA deal that progressives are more or less obsessed with.
Well, we're going to see. The question is, are they going to stick to their guns, or are they going to cave when Senator Schumer in the Senate says no deal? Really, the real question was two questions. Will the president stick to his guns? I think he will. But are the Democrats willing to let these DACA work permits expire and these people become illegal immigrants again, rather than give in to some of these pretty reasonable demands? I think the Democrats may be willing to just play politics with this issue and let all of those people lose their work permits and lose their jobs when the Republicans in the White House are saying, look, we're actually okay with amnestying this special group of people in exchange for things to limit the damage. So it's going to be the Democrats, maybe, who will sink this potential amnesty for these DACA work permit people.
Mark, if the GOP in Congress caves and they agree to a deal with the Democrats that does not include a fully funded border wall, do you think the conservatives there are going to start to move to get rid of Paul Ryan as Speaker, Mitch McConnell as the majority leader?
Yeah, it could be. I think, though, it's in the Senate is where the fight's going to be. And I think Speaker Ryan and Mitch McConnell are going to be taking their cues from the White House. Because if the president says, I'm going to veto this if it doesn't have what I want, then, they may actually say, okay, it sort of strengthens their resolve. So if they cave, it's definitely, especially for Ryan, it's going to be a real headache for him politically.
That's already been signaled for sure. Mark Krikorian, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, freedom of religion rejected. The bakery refusing to make a cake for a same-sex wedding. Losing a lawsuit and their livelihood at the same time. The family now being forced to shut down their business. They break their silence live with us next.
And caught on camera, a suspect the cops never saw coming. The bizarre police call that involves a cookie and squirrel.
How many pounds of confetti will be dropping at midnight? The confetti released from the rooftops of buildings throughout Times Square, creating that classic celebratory blizzard. And finally, 50 tons. That's roughly how much debris will be picked up during the massive cleanup after New Year's Eve festivities. It is disgusting, but they get after it very quickly. Rachel, over to you.
All right, freedom of religion rejected over a cake. Christian bakers lost their business after being ordered to pay a $135,000 fine because they stuck to their religious beliefs, refusing to bake a cake for a lesbian wedding back in 2013. The Oregon Appeals Court ruling the bakery was in the wrong for discriminating based on sexual orientation. Now, joining us for their first interview since the ruling are the former owners of the Sweet Cakes by Melissa Bakery, Aaron and Melissa Klein, and they are joined by Michael Berry of the Liberty Institute, who is representing them. Thank you both for being here. So you lost your business. You had to pay a restitution of $135,000, including a tithing account of 10% that you labeled for God. So why do you think you weren't able to persuade the judge in this case to rule on your behalf?
I mean, I personally couldn't say why we couldn't persuade the judges in this case. I don't know their reasoning behind it. I just know that this is one step in the process. It's disappointing, but we're going to continue to move forward.
How has it affected your business and also your family finances?
Well, it's definitely been, hard on our family. It's taken a toll on our family. But, I can say, too, though, that God is so good and he's been taking care of us. So
you have children. I understand that they've been bullied in school as well.
We haven't had a whole lot of that. We do homeschool our kids. This kind of affected that a little bit. But we decided for many reasons to pull them out of school and homeschool them.
Okay, Michael, why do you think that the judge did not rule in their favor?
Well, if you look at the court's opinion, which is available at firstliberty.org for people who want to read it themselves, one of the things that the court said was they didn't think that custom designing and making a custom wedding cake is a form of art. And, of course, we just heard the Supreme Court talk about this, a similar issue not too long ago. And, you know, as the ACLU themselves said, freedom of expression for ourselves means we have to allow freedom of expression for others. And
Right.
Aaron and Melissa Klein just want the same basic treatment that everybody else in this country wants and deserves.
Could this backfire on liberals? I mean, could, say, for example, a liberal speechwriter be compelled to write for a conservative speech for a conservative politician? I mean, is this a slippery slope that might not just affect religious people?
Absolutely. You know, punishing people for their religious beliefs is wrong. It's un-American. And if you take this court's opinion and you really look at what it truly means for not just religious liberty, but freedom of speech and the First Amendment in this country, it absolutely could be extended that far. Because it really falls to what do these judges, who in their own subjective opinions think constitutes expression or art. And they said, look, we even concede and acknowledge that Melissa custom designs these cakes. She puts her own independent stamp on every cake. But we just don't think that that's art. That was their opinion. And they said because of that, it's not protected by the First Amendment. That's outrageous.
Yeah, I understand that the lesbian couple actually claimed that they experienced physical harm by Melissa and Aaron. They said they experienced, weight gain. They even said they felt mentally raped.
Yeah, I mean, look, in this country, if we're going to be a truly diverse and pluralistic country that tolerates all points of view, then as the Supreme Court recently opined, tolerance is a two-way street. What about what's happened to Aaron and Melissa Klein and their family, and the fact that this $135,000 penalty has forced them to close their business? I mean, that's harmful not only to Aaron and Melissa Klein, but really to all Americans, because that means the government can now force us, under threat of massive penalties, to say things that go against our religious beliefs, and that's just wrong.
Well, Melissa, Aaron, Michael, all of you have been a great example of standing up for our Constitution, our religious liberty. I know that you've received lots of, as you said before, lots of support around the country from others who are standing up, also are thrilled that you're standing up for religious liberty. So thank you for being here. We wish you the best. I hope you still get to bake coming in the new year. And we wish all the best for you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up. New proof of the next generation that it's already learning to disrespect America. The celebrity who actually was brought to tears of joy because her son sat for the national anthem. And we're getting ready for 2018 with the best champagne for any budget and last-minute appetizers and desserts. And Rick is live atop the square with us right now. Rick.
Hey guys, we have the USO performers who are trying to stay warm up here at top Times Square. They're going to be performing in a second. We'll see. Keep your voices warm. That's what we need. Coming up here in a minute. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you just sign that first one there.
Sharing this photo with their son, Elwin, who is serving overseas in the Navy in Japan, and the group, A Hero's Welcome, thanks to them, was able to make it happen. Remember this? He's actually not in Japan. He's actually on 6th Avenue.
Surprises. You may remember that very special Christmas military surprise happening right here on Fox and Friends.
And here's the Miranda family having a blast on their trip to Florida together.
Look at that, hitting up a little
That's
Disneyland
fun.
there. Good stuff. They never thought it would happen. But thanks
Awesome.
to the good folks here at Fox and Friends, it did happen.
It
Pretty
did.
cool.
Good for you guys. Turning now to your headlines. New overnight. South Korea seizing a Panama flag-bearing ship suspected of smuggling oil to North Korea amid heavy UN sanctions. This after just revealing that in late November, a Hong Kong flagged vessel was believed to have done the same. Meantime, Russia is denying reports that its tankers smuggled fuel to the rogue nation, which relies on their products for its missile and nuclear programs. A man under arrest, accused of wanting to join ISIS and trying to destroy the evidence. According to court documents, Sean Andrew Duncan expressed interest in making homemade bombs and carrying out an attack in the U.S. The feds say he tried to destroy a thumb drive and a memory chip when agents showed up at his Virginia home. He is charged with attempting to obstruct terrorism investigation. Will and Grace star Deborah Messing praising her son for sitting during the national anthem at a hockey game. Messing describing how emotional she felt over his decision to protest, posting this quote, "Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance." Her son saying, quote, "Mom, I want to sit down and protest. Can we do that?" She responds, "Yes, honey, we can do that." Who's crying? I'm not crying. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Wow. Cops called in after a crazy squirrel breaks into a home and steals cookies from the kitchen. What happens next is hilarious. Oh my God. Jumping right on top of one of the officers in upstate New York. It then ran out of the kitchen where police eventually caught it and set it outside, where it is now free.
So if you're ever walking by a
headlines.
tree and you think, I wonder if that squirrel's going to come lunging at me.
It just
Yeah,
might.
they kind of fly.
And if you're a cop, you're like, hey, what's going to happen today? Maybe I'll have to capture a squirrel. All right, we're going to check in now with Rick Reichmuth live from Times Square. The ball is just hours away from being dropped. And Rick, you are in the center of it all. He's with the USO Performance Troupe, Rick.
I know. Yeah, I like it.
Yes, amazing morning here, and it's such an honor for us to have you guys here. You guys are USO troops. You guys do such amazing work performing for our troops. How many performances you guys do a year?
Over 400 performances every year, globally.
Globally. So you guys travel around the world, keeping our troops' spirits up, basically. Is that the mission?
Yeah, keeping them connected to their home, to their family, and to their country through entertainment while they're over serving our great country.
Yeah, and there's 64 of you. You're in different groups, so moving around all over the place.
Yep.
And you guys are all performers. Like, your voices are spectacular.
Yep, we're all based here in New York City.
That's amazing. All right, so I'm going to back off here and let you guys sing real quickly. Okay, so do your thing for us.
First to fight for the right and to build a nation's might. Anchors away, my boys. Semper Paratus is our guide. From the halls of Montezuma, off we go into the wild blue yonder. This is America. America.
Okay, how many songs did you just pack into that 30-second medley?
5 songs.
That was amazing. All right, your name's Brandon.
Yep.
And everybody else's name real quick?
Yeah, we have Courtney, Zoe, Amandina, and Jeremy.
All right, hey, thank you guys so much for being here today. You guys are performing tonight as well.
Yeah, 8:02 will be on the countdown stage.
Amazing, wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Pete, we'll send it back to
Rick,
you.
thanks a lot. Next time, just have him do the Army song. We appreciate it. Thanks, Rick. All right, for those planning on toasting the new year, our next guest compiled a list of the best champagnes to fit any budget. Joining me now is champagne expert Megan Libby. So it wouldn't be New Year's Eve without champagne.
That's right. I can guarantee 2 things. This New Year's Eve, the ball will drop and the corks will pop.
Definitely.
And if the corks are going to pop, it better be real champagne from Champagne, France.
From Champagne, France. That's why it's called champagne. Everything else is just sparkling wine, right?
That's
so,
right.
okay, you've got an array here for us. Explain.
That's right. Well, let's start with this champagne of success and glamour. This is Moet and Chandon. And with champagne, size matters.
Okay.
Guess what?
I'll take the little guy.
Minis are real, and this is a sipper. You can drink right out of it.
A sipper. I've never seen that before.
Don't
That's
you
fantastic.
love it? This is the Moet
cheers.
sipper. Cheers.
So Moet, how much is that going to run you?
These little sippers are only $12 a bottle. You can get a 6-pack or a case. Then, of course, a great option is a Magnum. Both Veuve Clicquot and the Moet and Chandon come in Magnums. So the Moet, that's going to be about $10 a person. This will serve 10 people.
Love it. And the I don't even know how to say it. How do I say
Veuve.
it?
Veuve
I call it
rhymes with
Veuve,
love.
but it's basically the Dom Perignon of the people, right?
Yeah, this is America's
It's more
favorite
affordable.
champagne. And Veuve means widow, and it rhymes with love. So if you ever forget.
I love it. How about these other 3? Help us out.
So let's talk a little bit about rosé. Dispel some myths. People think rosé is going to be sweet, right? These are not. On the label, you'll see, have a look, it says brut. That means it's going to be dry. And because it has Pinot Noir in the blend, It's going to go great with things like filet mignon, tuna tartare, carpaccio.
Love it for your dinner.
Yeah.
How about Dom Perignon? How much will a bottle run you?
A bottle of Dom Perignon for this iconic champagne, $169.
It's an investment.
It's an investment, but
it's that
this
good.
is a vintage only from the greatest vineyards in the whole region. It's a global icon for a reason.
It sure is. How about this last one, real quick, 10
so
seconds.
Krug is your luxury champagne for the collector out there. It takes 20 years to craft a bottle of Krug.
And what would that go for?
169 as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so either one of them.
That's
Well,
right.
cheers. Thank you very much. Where's my
Cheers.
bottle?
That's
All right.
your bottle.
Well, I missed my bottle, but I'm going to go over to Rachel and Peter while I enjoy my bottle.
And if you're going to do that, you got to eat first. As we heard earlier, Diane Hendricks is a chef and culinary nutritionist. She joins us now with some last-minute cocktails, appetizers, and desserts for your New Year's Eve party.
That's right. I'm really excited about this because even if you haven't already planned one, you're saying all of this can be done in about 15 minutes.
Each thing can be made in under 15 minutes. And on New Year's Eve, a lot of people don't really make plans. Things are up in the air and people want to come over. So I did some cocktails, some appetizers, and some desserts and some appetizers. So start with the cocktail. You want to start with the appetizers?
Well, I was really excited about this because you mentioned that you never know if your guest has a peanut allergy. You can do this with
sun butter.
Sun butter.
It's
And what
awesome.
is it?
It's awesome. It's actually a sunflower butter. And this my grandmother used to make these. She used to make them with peanut butter. It's literally
I've never
dates.
seen it with peanut. I always see it
my
with blue
gosh.
cheese or
No, dates with sun butter. And then you just watch this. You just dip it into the sunflower seeds and roll it in sugar. Look how beautiful they look.
Gorgeous.
They're healthy.
Awesome.
It's delicious. And it's, it's awesome. And we also have some cheesecake.
Very
Isn't that
good.
delicious?
Delicious.
Little mini no-bake cheesecake jars. We've got some popcorn with chocolate drizzled on it, spiced nuts. And this is actually a cranberry applesauce cobbler that I used the frozen cranberry and applesauce I had from Thanksgiving and then just made a quick cobbler.
And what about the drinks? Those look like some New Year's
They're
Eve
awesome.
drinks.
Well, first of all, Pete's coming over. Let's start with the wines. I've got Gnarly Head Chardonnay, which is $9.99 a bottle. It's delicious. It's got cantaloupe and citrus notes. It's wonderful. And then we've got the Noble Vine 667 Pinot Noir, which is really awesome. And that's got like plum and Bing cherry. It's really great. And that's $14.99. So you're getting high quality wine at a superior price.
Smells fantastic.
Awesome.
Looks and smells
I knew you were coming
fantastic.
over, and everything has alcohol, so you'll be happy.
There we go.
Okay, so we have a poinsettia, which is cranberry. It's just
Love
cranberry juice, a little triple sec or Cointreau, champagne, or Prosecco. And this is a pomegranate margarita that's absolutely wonderful. This, I made my own homemade gingerbread syrup. This is a gingerbread old-fashioned, and it's really great. It's made with bourbon.
that.
You'll love that.
All
And
right.
then we have a